Erling Haaland will not live up to the expectation. I am so bored.
Why won't he?
Because he isn't the player that everybody thinks he is. I think he'd do really well to score. If he scores 15, it would be a really good season for him.
Yeah. That's it. I'm done.
How many 15
do you think?
goals.
How many do you think?
Yeah. The levels of his general play is so poor, and not just today. I think his laying stuff off, living headers or whatever it might be. In terms of front of goal, he's best in the world. But for his general play, for such a player, it is so poor. Not just today. I think he has to improve that. He's almost like a League Two player.
Yeah, that aged like milk. And today the so-called League Two player is now being crowned as the king of the Premier League. But Haaland's rise as a new prince to the throne wasn't just some fairy tale. It's been a goal-scoring masterclass that's left even the best defenders shaking in their boots. The only question that's being asked is if he can surpass a certain Newcastle legend record and become the next king of goals in the EPL. And how can he do that? Stick with me to find out. You see, over the years, we've seen some real royalty in the EPL, but it's been long since we had one like Haaland in the league, a player that threatened to outscore some of the EPL legends. The last time we found this kind of presence was with Van Nistelrooy, but he joined the Premier League at the age of 25.
Such a young player as well, so confident. I've mentioned Van Nistelrooy twice before. It reminds me so much of him, such a ruthless finisher. When he gets through, you feel he's going to score, and you feel he's not going to give the keeper a chance, even looking at his penalty.
The EPL has produced a lot of heroes, but only a few can call themselves a king in this league. We had Thierry Henry with his silky skills, Cristiano Ronaldo with his unstoppable flair, Mohamed Salah with his trickery, and Sergio Aguero with that legendary last-minute title-winning goal. These guys didn't just play football, they owned it. They lifted their teams, dominated the league, and became the faces of the EPL. Henry's Arsenal went unbeaten. Ronaldo won back-to-back titles and a Champions League. Aguero turned Manchester City into a serial winner. These are the kings who ruled the pitch and etched their names into Premier League history. But now, there's a new king in town. A Norwegian has burst onto the scene, and he's doing it in a way that's making everyone sit up and take notice. He's not just scoring goals, he's smashing records, terrorizing defenses, and redefining what it means to dominate the Premier League. He's broken Andy Cole's record, Wayne Rooney's record, and now the next on his mind is the Alan Shearer record. Do you think he can break the record? If yes, what do you think sets him apart from the other EPL kings that also tried to break this record? But before we talk about it, can you take a second to subscribe to the channel? We want to have a Haaland kind of success in the YouTube space, and your subscription will be of great importance to us. For starters, his impact has been immediate and quite frankly mind-blowing. In just his first season with Manchester City, Haaland didn't just meet expectations, he obliterated them. With 36 goals in 35 games, he broke records faster than you could blink. And remember, this is a league that isn't exactly kind to newcomers. The physicality, the pace, the intensity, it's supposed to take time to adjust. But Haaland, he dove right in and dominated from day one. But none of the past kings had this great success right away. Thierry Henry took a couple of seasons to hit his peak at Arsenal. Suarez, too, needed time before he became Liverpool's main man. And even Cristiano Ronaldo, the iconic figure that he is, took a few years before he truly ruled the EPL. But Haaland, he's come in, and from the get-go, he's playing like he's been here for years. And it's not just about the goals though. With 36 goals in a debut season, that's a huge part of it. Haaland's presence on the pitch was also intimidating, making defenders not know whether to mark him tight or give him space, because either way he finds a way to punish them. His positioning, his speed, and his clinical finishing makes him a nightmare for any defense. In terms of influence, he is already reaching the heights of the past kings. Just like Van Persie carried Manchester United from 2012 to 2013, Haaland is becoming the focal point of Manchester City. As Salah did for Liverpool, Haaland is becoming the face of the club, the player everyone associates with their success. So, why Haaland? And why now? The answer lies in his sheer ability to adapt and dominate so quickly in a league known for testing even the best. He's taken on the challenges of the Premier League and made it look easy, and that's why he's the new king. And remember, he's only just getting started. But here's the thing. Haaland's rise to the top of the Premier League didn't just happen overnight. Behind this incredible start is a journey that took him from a promising youngster in Norway to one of the most feared strikers in world football. So, who exactly is Erling Haaland? What shaped him into the goal machine we see today? Let's know his story, from his early days to his big moves across Europe, and how he ended up at Manchester City. The making of a king. You might see him as this unstoppable force tearing up the Premier League, but every great story has a beginning, right? So, who is this guy, and how did he become the player every defender dreads facing? Haaland isn't just some random talent that popped up out of nowhere. He was born into football royalty. His dad, Alfie Haaland, played in the Premier League for Leeds and Manchester City, so you could say football's in his blood. But let's be real, having a famous football dad doesn't guarantee success. Johnny Cruyff and Enzo Zidane are perfect examples. Erling had to carve his path, and boy did he do that. He started making waves in Norway, playing for Molde under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Yep, the same Solskjaer who later managed Manchester United. And here's where it gets interesting. At just 18, Haaland scored 4 goals in 21 minutes in one game. Being that good at 18 was just criminal. And guess what? It was just the beginning. From there, he made the move to RB Salzburg in Austria, and this is where the hype started. Champions League nights, 8 goals in his first 6 games. He was a teenage sensation, and the big clubs took notice. Clubs like Manchester United came looking for his signature, but Alfie Haaland believed that his son still had to develop his game better. So they did the hardest thing some footballers can't do. Instead of jumping straight into the deep end with one of Europe's giants, he took a smart step to Borussia Dortmund, and that's where he truly exploded. Haaland made the move to Dortmund in January 2020, and honestly, it felt like he hit the ground running, like literally. In his debut, he came off the bench and scored a hat-trick in just 23 minutes. Yeah, you heard that right, 23 minutes. It was clear that this guy was something special. During his time at Dortmund, Haaland wasn't just scoring goals, he was smashing records left and right just like he's doing in the Premier League. In his first full season, 2020 to 2021, he netted 27 goals in 28 Bundesliga games. And if that wasn't enough, he added 10 goals in the Champions League, winning the competition's Golden Boot. I mean, this guy was outscoring some of the best strikers in Europe, like Lewandowski and Benzema, and he was still only in his early 20s. Dortmund may not have been the powerhouse of the Bundesliga like Bayern Munich, but Haaland still led them to glory. In the 2020-2021 season, he helped Dortmund win the DFB Pokal German Cup. In the final, they crushed RB Leipzig 4-1. And guess who scored twice? Yup, Haaland. That performance further solidified his reputation as a big game player, a guy who steps up when it matters most. Overall, during his time at Dortmund, Haaland scored an incredible 86 goals in 89 appearances across all competitions. Think about that for a second. Scoring almost a goal per game was crazy, and at that age was monstrous. It's no wonder every top club in Europe was fighting for his signature. Haaland picked up individual awards during his time with Borussia Dortmund too. He was named the Bundesliga Player of the Season in 2020-2021 and also won the Champions League Golden Boot in that same year. But despite all the success, there was always a feeling that Dortmund was just a stepping stone for Haaland, a place for him to hone his skills before taking that next big leap. And when Manchester City came calling, it all made sense. the chance to work with Pep Guardiola, play alongside world-class teammates, compete for the biggest trophies in world football, and also play for a club that his father loved. It was the perfect move for a player who was already destined for greatness. The City had just won the Premier League and lost out on the Champions League, and they were on the lookout for a missing piece who could bring them the Champions League. And yeah, they did. When Haaland finally arrived at City, he didn't disappoint. In his very first Premier League game, Haaland scored twice against West Ham, instantly silencing any doubts. And from there, it was like watching a cheat code in action. By the end of his debut season, Haaland had shattered the Premier League record for most goals in a single campaign, netting an astonishing 36 goals in 35 games. Like, who does that? It's not just impressive, it's ridiculous. He became the focal point of City's attack, and suddenly, all eyes were on him. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. Last season, injuries tried to slow him down, and critics started whispering. They said maybe he couldn't keep up this pace. Yet even then, he managed to bag 27 goals and 4 assists in just 31 games. Let that sink in. He had a down season and still scored more than most strikers dream of. And now, he's back hungrier than ever. Critics? What critics? Haaland has already responded in the best way possible. 7 goals in just 3 games this season. He's a man on a mission, and if this form continues, we're not just talking about the new king of the Premier League. We might be witnessing the beginning of one of the greatest goal-scoring careers in history. But what does he need to do to be the greatest goalscorer in the Premier League? I mean, we've already seen the insane numbers he's been putting up. But if Haaland really wants to etch his name in the history books, alongside legends like Alan Shearer, there's still a mountain to climb. Well, he started really well. He's the fastest to get to 50 Premier League goals, beating Andy Cole by 17 games. And he also has the most goals in a Premier League season of any length, scoring 36 goals. But to surpass Shearer's legendary 260 Premier League goals, he'll need to maintain this level of dominance for years to come. And that's the real challenge, isn't it? Longevity. Those who watch Alan Shearer called him a beast, as he was too good. He played in the Premier League for over 14 seasons, constantly banging in goals for both Blackburn Rovers and Newcastle United. The guy was a goal machine, but it wasn't just about his raw talent. Shearer had this incredible ability to stay at the top of his game, despite injuries and changes in the league. He was relentless, season after season, scoring 30+ goals in a single campaign multiple times. So, what does Haaland need to do to catch Shearer? Well, for starters, he needs to keep up his goal-scoring pace. Right now, Haaland's averaging almost a goal per game, which is just ridiculous. If he keeps this up, he could reach Shearer's record in about 8 or 9 seasons. And honestly, that's terrifying to think about. But if he can continue with this pace, he can definitely surpass him. Injuries. Injuries are the first hurdle, and we've seen how injuries can derail even the best players. Like the 18-19 injury to Harry Kane, which saw him out for 40 days. Haaland's already faced some injury setbacks, and the physical demands of the Premier League are no joke. If he can stay fit, there's no reason he can't keep scoring at this rate. But avoiding those long-term injuries, that's going to be key. Ball retention. Haaland also needs to improve his ball retention, like Alan Shearer and Harry Kane, who both have over 200 goals in the Premier League. Kane could hold on to the ball and make a killer pass out of it, while Alan could drop deep to link up with the midfielder. Yes, Haaland does this, but he doesn't do it well. When he was asked in an interview, he said, "My job isn't to be like Rodri, to control a game. It's being in the box and finishing the attacks," he told Sky Sports on opening weekend. Do I need that to be more involved? That's the million-dollar question. And the answer is a big yes. To be a complete forward who can play under any manager, he should be able to make use of the ball at his feet, and he also needs to be more consistent. He's delivered great numbers, but Shearer was the definition of consistent. Even in his later years, when he wasn't as quick or as explosive, he still found ways to score. Haaland will need to adapt as the seasons go by, especially as teams figure out how to defend against him. Right now, he's got the speed, the power, and the finishing, but as he ages, he'll need to evolve. Maybe focus more on positioning, or becoming a more complete forward like Shearer did towards the end of his career. City dominance. City's dominance in the Premier League will also help him. As long as Haaland's playing in a team that creates tons of chances, he'll keep scoring goals. But what if the City goes through a rough patch? Or what if Guardiola eventually leaves? Stability in the team will be crucial for Haaland to keep racking up. Mindset. Lastly, it's all about mindset. Shearer had this ruthless mentality. He was obsessed with scoring goals. Haaland has that same hunger, but to break Shearer's record, he'll need to stay motivated year after year. Even when he's already accomplished so much, you know that if anyone can do it, it would be Haaland. He's broken some records in the Premier League, and it looks like he might break more.
When I went down to Southampton, I was by no means the best player in the group. In fact, I was probably mid to lower end if you're having a tiered system. But I go back to me working, and I had a better attitude, and I worked harder than anyone else, and I think that's what gave me the opportunity.
So yeah, Shearer set the bar incredibly high, but Haaland's got everything it takes to not just reach it, but to blow right past it. And as fans, we get to sit back and watch the fireworks. The race is on. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, why not stick around? We've got plenty more where that came from. Seriously, our channel's like a treasure chest of awesome videos. Dive in.